Okay, let's just jump straight into this. Grab your tea, settle in, because today's explainer is a pretty raw, real-world tech adventure. We're taking a deep dive into the fascinating and, honestly, sometimes incredibly frustrating world of open-source AI agents. You know how it is? We often see these absolutely mind-blowing tech projects. We stare at them in awe for a minute, and then we just kind of move on. But today, we're doing what every senior developer knows is the actual secret to mastering tech. We're getting our hands dirty and deploying it ourselves.
So imagine this for a second. What if you literally didn't have to do the granular day-to-day work to build a company? What if you could simply hire an AI CEO and just let them figure out the rest of the details? That's the exact premise of a massive, game-changing open-source repository we're unpacking today. It's a framework that completely flips the script on how we approach automation, because it treats AI not just as a piece of software, but as a simulated, functioning corporate workforce.
And we're not talking about some niche, weekend side project here. Think about this number. Over 60,000 GitHub stars. This project is seeing immense hype and incredibly active community participation, and it's making huge waves, particularly in the US market right now. The repository is growing so fast, with thousands of developers jumping on board just to experiment with this totally new frontier of AI labor. It's a massive signal that the whole industry is heavily pivoting toward these agentic control panels.
Section 1. How the framework operates.
So before we get bogged down in the messy code and all those deployment bugs, we really need to understand the blueprint of this repository. How do you actually structure an AI company? The core of it all comes down to this idea of a human control plane for AI labor. Think of yourself not as the day-to-day manager, but as the ultimate board of directors. You aren't micromanaging the tiny tasks. Your job is to set the high-level goals, approve the big strategic moves, and essentially just orchestrate the labor. The AI agents, they're the ones handling the actual execution, the planning, and get this, even the hiring of other AI agents.
When we look at the available AI roles, it covers everything from a CEO, CTO, and CMO, right down to foundational engineers and SEO writers. It's kind of like being the head of a university department. You don't go out and personally hire every single professor and teaching assistant, right? You hire a highly competent dean, and you trust that dean to build out the faculty. In this framework, you appoint the AI CEO, and then that CEO goes out and hires the marketing officers and the technical leads based entirely on the goals you gave them.
The theoretical workflow for this is just wonderfully clean. Step 1, you define a mission. Let's say we want to build a tech AI news agency that researches current events and drafts short-form content. Step 2, your AI CEO plans out the team and actually sets a monthly token budget. They might cap it around $42 to $60 a month, just so your API costs don't absolutely spiral out of control. Then step 3, you, the human, just click approve on these hires and let the automated routines start running. On paper, this whole setup looks incredibly accessible.
Section 2. The real deployment struggle.
But moving from that pristine, clean theory to the messy, raw reality of actual deployment is a whole different story. Our source creator decided to run this not on a safe, comfortable local machine, but on a Hostinger virtual private server, a VPS. Now, setting this up locally is way easier for sure, but it has a much lower learning potential. Deploying on a VPS means you are forcing this project to be production ready. It's an absolute trial by fire, but honestly, that is exactly what yields the deepest, most robust engineering skills.
Getting the VPS running at all is just the first little victory. Once you're inside, you have to jump right into the interactive shell and start orchestrating Docker containers. You're suddenly managing containers for network traffic routing using Traffic, and for the actual application itself, which is called paperclips. You literally have to execute shell commands to dive into the core of these containers just to start configuring the environment. It's proper hands-on server management, the whole shebang.
Section 3. Overcoming the API bugs. And seriously, this is the boss fight. Let's walk through this timeline of initial roadblocks, because frankly, these aren't failures, these are crucial learning hours. First, the creator tried using the Gemini CLI, but hit a wall instantly with a command not found error. Okay, next up was Claude. But Claude actually had to be skipped because, practically speaking, there's a really high risk of aggressive account bans when you start experimenting with these heavy, automated agent loops. Finally, they landed on Codex. It looked super promising, but it demanded some incredibly deep, hidden configurations to actually work.
Talk about an undocumented struggle, right? To get Codex working, you can't just paste an API key and call it a day.
Note, you actually have to dig deep into ChatGPT's security settings and manually enable device code authorization for Codex, a setting that is completely turned off by default. Then you have to run device logging commands inside the Docker container, grab a unique URL and an 8-digit auth code, log back into your browser, and finally authenticate the server. It's a process.
And the crazy thing is, even after you successfully authenticate, the code can still just break on you. The trial and error process here is brutal. Step 1, test the default auto model. Failed. Step 2, test Codex Mini to try and save some costs. Failed again. It becomes this constant loop of testing, reading error logs, and researching, until finally, step 3, selecting GPT 5.4 from the dropdown, and boom, it passes. That is the exact moment that truly tests an engineer's patience. But man, it's what makes the victory so incredibly sweet.
Section 4. The Live AI Dashboard. This is where we see the payoff. After an entire evening of debugging Docker containers, wrestling with API keys, and testing model selections, the AI company actually springs to life. The whole operation runs on these beautiful Jira-style Kanban boards. You've got issues, which are specific tasks like research AI funding news, and they are automatically moving from to-do to in progress as your agents pick them up. You have routines dictating the daily automated workflows, seamlessly passing data from a researcher agent right to an email drafting agent. And if a task gets blocked, maybe an agent lacks internet access, you can click right into the ticket, read the AI's actual comments, and debug that specific bottleneck.
There is a genuinely exhilarating feeling when you look at your platform's inbox and see a notification pop up from your AI CEO. It's literally asking for board approval to onboard a newly vetted Chief Technology Officer and a Chief Marketing Officer. You simply click Approve, and just like that, your organization's hierarchy expands. You now have a dedicated technical engine and a marketing arm, completely simulated, running the routines you defined. It's wild.
Section 5. Why hands-on learning matters.
So, what is the ultimate takeaway from this messy, beautiful deployment journey? Because it's clearly not just about having a cool AI dashboard to look at. It's about the mindset you need to survive and thrive in tech today. I really want to leave you with this core wisdom from our source creator. Knowledge comes from doing, not just watching. It is so incredibly easy to live in La La Land just watching perfect tutorials where everything works in one magic click. But true engineering skill, the real ability to adapt, to troubleshoot, and to understand how these complex systems actually talk to each other, that only comes when you get your hands dirty and deploy open source code yourself. So my final question to you is this: what open source project are you going to stop watching and start breaking today?